I think most of you know that something happened here that was absolutely amazing. It filled this theater, and it happened a long time ago in the days of the Apostle Paul. All I want to do is read it to you, but to let you know that this little church that started here, a combination of Jews and Gentiles, actually grew into something that had a major shaking, a catastrophic effect on the economy here. And here's what it says. I'm just going to read it to you. In Acts chapter 19, verse 23, it says, "About that time, there rose a great disturbance about the way." The way is what the church was called at that time. "A silversmith named Demetrius, who made silver shrines of Artemis, brought in no little business for the craftsmen. He called them together along with the workmen in related trades and said, 'Men, you know we receive a good income from this business. And you see and hear that this fellow Paul is convinced and led astray large numbers of people here in Ephesus, and in particularly the whole province of Asia. He says that man-made gods are no gods at all. There is a danger, not only that our trade will lose its good name, that's really what he's mostly concerned about, but that also the temple of the great goddess Artemis will be discredited, and the goddess herself, who is worshipped throughout the province of Asia and the world, will be robbed of her divine majesty." Now he rabble-rouses not only based on the economy, but for religion. That's very political, by the way. When they heard this, they were furious and began shouting, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians!" And soon the whole city was in an uproar. The people seized Gaius and Aristarchus, Paul's traveling companions from Macedonia, and rushed as one man into the theater. They just came piling into this place, no doubt not only in the stands, but down here, on the stage, everywhere. They filled up the theater. Paul wanted to appear before the crowd. That's chutzpah, by the way. You have all of these people filling up the theater in a frenzy, could be accused even of a riot. And Paul says, "Hey, I'd like to talk with them." He was good at doing that, and he did that a few times, but this one would definitely have gotten him killed. Paul wanted to appear before the crowd, but the disciples would not let him. Even some of the officials of the province, friends of Paul, sent him a message begging him not to venture into the theater. He wants to come here and get in front of all these people. Instant audience, isn't that just like Paul? They just, hey, there's people, let's go talk to them. Oh, they're in a frenzy. It doesn't matter. We'll tell them about Jesus. That's what he would do. The assembly here in this building was in confusion. Some were shouting one thing, some another. Most of the people did not even know why they were there. It was just something going on. Let's go see what's happening. What are they doing? I don't know. The Jews pushed Alexander to the front of some of the crowd shouted instructions to him, and he motioned for silence in order to make a defense before the people. But when they realized he was a Jew, they all shouted in unison for about 2 hours. "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." Why, when they found out he was a Jew? Because Paul was a Jew, because Jesus was a Jew, the Messiah was a Jew. This whole thing, as far as they were concerned, was a sect of Judaism, even though it was far more than that. Verse 35, the city clerk, here comes the guy from that building way up the road that you saw as we first came in. He comes down with all the commotion, and he quieted the crowd. I wonder how he did that. And he said, "Men of Ephesus, don't allow the world to know that the city of Ephesus is the..." Let me try that again. "Men of Ephesus, doesn't all the world know that the city of Ephesus is the guardian of the temple of the great Artemis and her image which fell from heaven?" Which kind of indicates that that image that they had under the big statue was secondary to something else that they had originally worshipped a long time before, probably a meteorite or something like that. "Therefore, since these facts are undeniable, you ought to be quiet and not do anything rash. You have brought these men here, though they have neither robbed temples nor blasphemed our goddess." Very important point. They came in and preached the gospel, but they didn't take anything from the people, nor did they blaspheme the goddess. They just didn't talk about her. All they did was talk about Jesus. They don't need to blaspheme anybody. They don't need to put anybody down. We're often known so much as Christians about what we're against. Instead, these people let them know who they were for, and that was it. If then Demetrius and his fellow craftsmen have a grievance against anybody, the courts are open, and there are proconsuls. They can press charges. If there is anything further you want to bring up, it must be settled in a legal assembly. As it is, we are in danger of being charged with rioting by the Romans, which would be really bad, because of today's events. In that case, we would not be able to account for this commotion, since there is no reason for it. And after he said this, he dismissed the assembly. These words that I just read were said right here in this place a long time ago. So you're sitting right where it happened. This is the Great Theater in Ephesus. This was the incident that occurred, and the little tiny insights that are in there tell you how the early church actually worked. They were known as the Way. They didn't put anybody down. They didn't try and take anything from anyone. They weren't iconoclasts. They didn't do that. They simply got up and told them, here's the truth. We want you to know it. And a lot of people believed it, a lot more than anybody expected. And it caused a shaking of their economy because people stopped buying the little idol trinkets on their pilgrimages here because they found Jesus when they entered Ephesus. Very exciting story, and now you've heard it. To which we say, amen and amen.